if we had a guaranteed income and everybody had a semblance, a sense of security, that nobody was going down the tubes and have to be forced to live under a bridge. Okay. So even these reporters that are forced to, lie to the public, knowing right from wrong, knowing that this is a crock of bull to say such a thing is stupid. This guy, they don't talk about the fact that he was an atheist. In the Bible, it's talked about a time known as the beginning of sorrows. I'm starting to feel like that, I mean, it's been coming on. I've been watching this thing unfold for a long time. So that's why it's so painful for me. I mean, my dad saw this thing coming. My dad in the 60s, he snapped. Okay, he did with the assassination of JFK. I mean, my dad was just wigged out almost his whole life. He wrote a very, what was considered very radical at the time, satire on elements within the United States government. A book called Apple Pie, put out by Bantam Publishing, but you can't find it anymore. It was censored. You wouldn't think so. I mean, you'd think that we had whole free speech in America, but no. Even though it sold millions of copies, it went on a mainstream media talk show. It vanished. But he was pretty pissed off about the assassination of JFK, what happened there. But he wrongly, I believe, blamed the Republicans and conservatives. This goes much deeper. This is like blaming capitalists or communists and socialists. No. People believe what they believe. And a lot of times they have very good intentions for believing in communism or socialism and capitalism. But who's dividing us? Who's behind the scenes pulling the strings? Who are the grand puppeteers? That's what we need to look at. Their religion is diabolism. Look it up. Devil worship, basically. That's who's behind those. So entering the time of sorrows. That guy was an escaped mental patient. But how about this plumber guy? I got a nephew in Reno. He's a plumber. Kind of looks like this guy. He's Swedish. His dad was Swedish at least. But nice guy. To me, that was a pacifist. The way that guy talked, he talked about being scared. Yeah, I could see myself being scared. I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want to be forced in a situation where I got to kill somebody. But a man does what a man's got to do, and he did it. He stepped up to the plate. And then a couple other guys chased the dude down. Dude died like a dog in a ditch. I'm not shedding any tears, but he's still a human being. God doesn't delight in the destruction of the wicked. He wishes none to perish, but all to come to repentance. But dude couldn't face the music. You didn't see him putting up his hands. He was mentally deranged. He was an escaped mental patient. Just imagine being in the mind of a demon like that, killing innocent people, just innocent men, women, children, little babies too, I understand he killed. Imagine meeting your maker after doing something like that. Talk about a tough row to hoe. And the answer is gun control, right? No, quite the contrary. It's controlling mental patients from having guns, yeah. I talked about how me doing this series of videos, I was inspired by Alex Jones, and I meant that, So as much as I can disagree with him at times, I'll still admit I believe InfoWars is the best house in a bad neighborhood in terms of getting the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I don't always like the way it's conveyed, and I certainly, like I said, I don't always agree. But, in a very real sense, I am Alex Jones's offspring as an allegory. And, that's what the guy has done. Very powerful dude. And I say, hey, look, if a guy like him could be outspoken and really say what he has to say, get it all off his chest, there's no reason why I can't too. And so, Alex, if you're listening, I'm your child, man. But I guess at the end of the day, it's always God. It was something good in Alex, some godly force, some righteous, godly force for good, this fighting the good fight, this passion for doing so that inspired me. So at the end of the day, it was something good in Alex. It was God in Alex that inspired me. But I think it's important. Feel like I'm saying stuff that other people aren't saying. They're not pointing out a lot of the stuff I am. So I'll keep doing it until I see somebody with a platform, a high platform where they can reach a lot of people and help pull them out of confusion and ignorance about particularly economic issues. Because like I said, all these social and political issues are all tied together, intertwined. They're inextricable. They're all just one. You want things to get better socially, then you got to make them better economically. You want things to get better politically, then you got to make things better economically. It all comes down to money, folks, or the lack thereof. Okay, this game, this sordid, perverted, rigged game that I don't want to play, and a lot of very good, upright, decent people like myself don't want to play it. But it needs to be talked about on a high platform. You got to be honest. You got to be fair. You got to be truthful. You got to tune into God. What is God's opinion of these economic matters? What would He say about this? What is His will? What does He want? It's not hidden. So on record high housing costs, I wrote down a few notes here that to point out that look, this for all intents and purposes, all practical purposes, it's a bad thing. You're going to have higher property taxes too, because it's always done on a percentage, even if it's 1%. I mean, if you're paying a 1% property tax on a $500,000 house, that's still well over $5,000 a year. Okay, every year, forever, and it's just going to go up, right? Unless this pyramid scheme comes to an end. So higher property tax. See, that's why the cost of living and taxes are the same thing. And it equals currency debasement. You're calling currency debasement a good thing because your housing dollars are worth less. That's what it translates to. It's just like a scale. One thing goes up, the other must go down. So the worth of your currency is here, okay, and the cost of living is here. Your cost of living goes up, it forces the worth of your currency down. It's that simple. Can a child not understand that? So it's about honesty. It's not about intellect. It's communistic too because we're renting from the government. People think, oh, well, I own my house now because I don't have a mortgage. Really? Do you not have property taxes too? Try not paying your property taxes for a few years. See what happens. You'll find out who owns your property real quick. Communism is alive and well in America ever since we had a property tax. I mean, you ought to be able to at least own your dwelling without paying any taxes. Okay, and let's not get into a discussion about where the money's going to come from. It exists. The wealth exists. That's why I call myself the Tesla of economic principles. Because just like Tesla proved electricity was in the air and you could take it and it goes right back in. You use it for whatever purposes you want. It's just going to go right back in. I can prove to you that the wealth exists and we can all take freely of it and it just all goes back like a bowl in the center of every town. The wealth exists. As long as nobody just scoops it all out of the bowl, as long as it's put back in there. It's like the Treasury. It's always there. We're always in the black. Taxes go to zero this year because we're so far in the black. That's what would happen. I know it. Prove me wrong. At least let's take it that direction for that trajectory for a while, but they won't allow it. So this is a fight to the finish of these dark forces against the forces of light, of truth and right. They're clashing, and only one group is going to come out alive. And my money, not my money, my heart, my soul, my spirit, my mind, my faith, my trust is in God. All right, folks, I'm on to some thoughts from this past week and the week before. I haven't been able to finish them. In light of the fact that God owns the universe and all that is contained therein, What is all this nonsensical talk about private property? Yeah, private property. What you see, God owns everything. I mean, if he owns our very soul, and we can't take anything with us when we have to surrender our bodies, which could be today, and that's not morbid, that's just science. To me, it's exhilarating to know this might be my last day on earth. But I mean, let's honor and revere the one that we need. We need God. I mean, if we're going to have existence beyond this, we're going to have to trust in God, and we're going to have to, need his mercy and compassion and forgiveness and the salvation and the promise of a better world. We got to cling to. We got to feel deserving and worthy to inherit that world. We need God. Again, the best theme I could ever come up with. We need God. Period. And any successes Trump's going to have, it's going to be through we the people. We're the foot soldiers. We're God's hands and feet, eyes and ears on the ground. At the end of the day, it's always God allowing it at the right time in history. This end of the age, it must come. The evildoers know it has to come, but they're hating life and they're kicking and screaming. And it's talked about in the scripture that the enemy, devil, this beast, has great wrath, and it's just out there just to wreak as much havoc as it can before its demise, before it gets thrown down into hell, separated from the righteous, the upright among us. Those that are willing to live in peace and harmony, safety and security and prosperity with their fellow human beings. You can't. They're just big fat flies, maggots in the ointment of decent humanity, and they must be separated, and that's the way the story goes. That's the promise. The wicked will be separated from the righteous. If we need mercy, what should we do? I say, offer mercy. If we need understanding, what should we do? Offer understanding. If we need forgiveness, what should we do? Offer forgiveness. If we need love, what should we do? Be loving. Stuck in the middle. Consternation from the left and condemnation from the right. That's what guys like me face. And it's not fair, folks, but it's the cross I have to bear. I don't believe I'm any more left than I am right. I don't believe I'm any more right than I am left. I'm just trying to be a friend of God, a friend of humanity, a good, faithful servant of the Most High, and be honest with people. But we have to be honest. That's what it really comes down to. And if solving the problems happens to be fiscally prudent, so it's conservative, great. And if solving the problems happens to appear to be liberal, leftist, great. Who gives a crap? They're just words. Words that didn't exist in the Bible. Conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, communist, socialist, capitalist. None of these words existed in the Bible. None of them. These are all invented. It's just, everything's convoluted by these evil. Remember, the diabolistic money masters of misery and their ilk. That's who's pulling the string. These are the grand puppeteers, the Satanists, overtly, covertly, inadvertently, vertently, whatever. We know who is at the top of the chain of command. Dark, evil, black hats. A tiny minority, but very powerful, very persuasive. Because they don't value their conscience. They don't value their soul. They serve the master of this world, like Jesus said. Their master is mammon, money. We're all God's children when we choose to act like it. The illegitimate money masters of misery are the parasitic predator class. These types are haters of the righteous, the pure of heart, the noble, the just, the kind. The kind class of human beings. Consider that without law and order, we'd automatically have lawlessness and disorder. And without Trump in the White House working for we the people, we'd have Hillary and Mr. Willie in there working for the ilk of George Soros. Boy, that'll make you feel grateful for Trump, won't it? Natural order dictates that a man protect women and children and the innocent and otherwise helpless. The problem at this point in history is that the enemy to aforementioned classifications of people is occult, hidden, stealth, diabolical, and basically invisible to the naked eye, and we cannot defend against what we cannot see. Yeah, that's a problem. I mean, they catch you off guard. It's like cold cocking humanity. Here, we'll get you over here. We'll get you over here. You know, yeah, we'll commit genocide. If we can get away with it, we will. So we're being cold cocked by these people. You know, no warning, because they're so sneaky and stealth and underhanded that, they don't show themselves. Otherwise, the good and decent men would protect the innocent. It would do everything we could to be there at a time like that church shooting in Sutherland, Texas.